If The Lion King was played in D&D, how much damage did Mufasa take? Howdy everybody, I'm Kyle Fergusson. Today we're going to ask a very important question. If the 1994 film The Lion King was played inside D&D, how much damage did Mufasa take in his final moments? A very brutal question, but in this episode you will learn about how fall damage works in Dungeons & Dragons. The rules for falling in 5th edition are pretty vague. It is assumed that you will fall the whole distance in that round. A round is 6 seconds. Xanathar's Guide to Everything covers an optional rule for falling, which covers if you don't hit the ground by the time the round ends. It allows you to assume that you fall at a rate of 500 feet per round. This isn't exactly true in the real world, as we actually fall at a rate of about 576 feet per 6 seconds. But 500's a lot cleaner. So we can calculate how far Mufasa fell based on how long he fell for. But the rule of falling says something else. At the end of the fall, a creature takes 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet that it fell to a maximum of 20d6. So all we really have to do is figure out if Mufasa fell at least 200 feet. Mufasa was thrown by Scar out rather than down, which means he is being launched from rest at gravity's acceleration rate, which is 32 feet per second. With the fall timed out, we get a near perfect round at 6.06 seconds. Now, one could argue that Mufasa appears to be falling in slow motion. However, since his scream sounds like and not, we're going to assume that this is just the camera at work. This means Mufasa fell about 579 feet, well above the maximum for fall damage. Our Lion King will be taking 20d6 bludgeoning damage. But you might also recall this wasn't the only damage he took. Wildebeests. Now there is no wildebeest in the monster manual, so we have to find an equivalent. Wildebeests are about 4 feet tall and weigh about 396 pounds. A cow does not work. A cow weighs about 1,000 pounds. But the challenge rating 1/4 elk is close to weight and size. It also features a charge, ram attack, and hooves, which will come into play. This particular hit would be a glancing blow. Our d6 rolled a 1. But in this scene, Mufasa comes under the effects of the charge ability from our wildebeest. He fails his strength saving throw and is knocked prone for an extra 2d6 damage, plus the original 1d6 plus 3 from the ram attack. All we need now is our lion stat block, which gives him 12 armor and 26 hit points. Let's begin the session. The DM has this great idea for a stampede scene, where he's going to put his 2 players, Simba and Mufasa, in the middle of a horde of wildebeests. However, Mufasa runs late to that day's session, so they start up the game with just Simba. And Simba just spends the whole thing hiding in a tree. The DM is determined to show off the cool skilled challenge they spent a lot of work on. And so when Mufasa arrives with his 2 NPC companions, he pressures the player to dive straight into the skilled challenge. It's the usual setup, 3 successes before 3 failures, and they're all dexterity based. Mufasa dives straight in, immediately getting 2 successes. The DM gets nervous. Their cool skilled challenge is going to be completely avoided, and so they throw in a quick wildebeest charge attack, and it hits. The Simba player says, well, I'm just going to stay in the tree then, so the DM takes out the tree. This sends Simba flying, but Mufasa succeeds in his athletics save, but fails the dexterity saving throw of the skill challenge. Player Mufasa recovers quickly, gets Simba out of the skill challenge, and the DM hits with the full force of the charge attack. Mufasa escapes the skill challenge and starts to climb up the cliff. The DM at this point has no idea how many hit points are left, he's just been caught in the moment. And after a brief moment of debate, reveals his big bad, and tosses his player back into the canyon. The fall damage is massive, and the hoof attacks eat up all of the death saving throws. Now we can't confirm any hoof attacks, nor can we count how many hoof attacks there would have been given the fade out. But I calculate Mufasa's full damage taken to 85 points of bludgeoning damage. And even if he was a barbarian, he wouldn't have survived the full amount. If you enjoyed this, in the comments below, let me know what other movie scenes you'd like broken down in a D&D mechanics way. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe.